The ultimate money advice that you're ever going to hear is to live on less than you earn. And one of the best ways to do this as a couple is to live on one income. Living on one income as a couple is one of the best things you can do to really propel your financial journey and to build wealth in your marriage. And effectively what this looks like is to have the one income from, one of you that will sustain and maintain everything. So all your bills, all your lifestyle expenses, etc. That way you have the freedom to then choose what you do with the other income, whether you save and invest it, whether you give it, whether you use it to do up your property, whatever you choose to do, you have that freedom and the flexibility to use the other income for other things other than your lifestyle.
Right.
Yeah.
I think there may be some people watching or listening to us and thinking, well, is that realistic or does that actually happen? Is it possible?
Yes, yeah. And I'll be honest with you, it's a fair question. I think, number one, yes, it is possible because we've done it, first of all. So we are doing it, yes. We are living proof that it is possible.
And we have been doing it for about 5, 6
while.
years. Yeah.
Quite a while. I can't even remember exactly when we started. But I'll be honest, it wasn't like we just woke up one day and then
we're like, let's do it.
Good, we're living one income. It takes dedication, it takes courage.
And a lot of discipline as well.
And discipline, my goodness, that's true. And so I guess from our personal story of how we did it is that we first kind of got real about our expenses. You kind of have to get real and serious about okay, this is what's going out from everything every month, and I mean everything, bills, the serious ones and kind of the little ones that you have, gym memberships or Netflix subscriptions and whatnot, or even like your iCloud subscription for your storage, all of that stuff. Like we literally looked at everything. And the second thing is to then figure out okay, based on this, that we are spending, how much does it all come to? We got really serious about cutting down the things that we felt weren't serving us anymore, and then get to a position where we had a figure in mind to say, this is the number that we live on per month. Therefore, let's make sure that we earn that. So what we then started to do, particularly from 2020, we started to focus on increasing our income. And we started to focus on increasing our income to such a degree that will allow us to then have one income that covers that.
Everything,
right? And then the other income, it has allowed us to do a lot of things, I guess, at a much faster pace that we were already doing. Or do more of what we wanted to do, like travel. Travel is a big one. We've been wanting to travel for quite a long time, particularly for family trips, and we've been able to do that. We've been able to save, and we've been able to invest in certain things, and we've been able to do things without compromising our living expenses. And I think that's the key thing here. But more than that, our sense of financial peace and financial stability has really increased. We haven't really, I guess, worried or stressed about bills and money as much as we used to when we were living paycheck to paycheck. And also it's then led us to be very intentional about our finances and to do so together as a team, which then ultimately has led us to work as a team when it comes to our money, which is fundamentally the message of everything that we do here. We encourage you as a couple to build wealth as a team, but to do it with love and to do it together as a team. When you do things separately, it's possible, but when you do things together, I'm telling you, it's powerful. And so that's been one of our biggest lessons, that this one goal of aiming for living on one income as a couple has led us to do.
And I think for me, I feel like the most powerful thing about this is when I was going on maternity and stuff, I was not worried about money, because now we were living on one income. So I was not really worried that, okay, what's going to happen? Although I still got paid for about 9 months.
Something like
6 to 9 months. I was still getting paid whilst I was on maternity. But even that money, we were able to take it and put it to other things and, multiply it and do other things with it. Why? Because we had started this thing years before. We were like, okay, we're going to live on one income and we're just going to be quite disciplined with money and make sure okay, we're not doing the most and not doing too much. Yes, fair enough. There are times and there are months where we're like, okay, we need to spend a bit more. We need to do this, that and the other, but we're not doing it at the expense of our household bills and we're not doing it at the expense of our normal bills and stuff like that. So I think that was the power of it for me. The maternity thing was a big one.
It was a big one. We speak to a lot of, we do speak to a lot of couples who are going into maternity leave with the worry of what's going to happen with our money because maternity pay is not really that much. And when it stops, what does
what
that
we're
mean?
Gonna do?
Do I go back to work early and start,
Yeah.
paying for childcare at 6 months or something like that? And, we had the conversation, of course, but we didn't worry about it. We approached the conversation from a more, what do we feel like we want to do?
Yeah.
Rather than okay, what do we have to do because we need the money kind of situation. Now, don't get me wrong, we need money. Like,
everyone
we're
needs
not rich.
money.
Like,
Everyone needs money.
I mean, like, it's not like we're swimming in millions here or anything like that, but it's just the flexibility and the freedom to have that kind of conversation in your marriage. Money can't buy. That's probably the biggest lesson that we've learned here. And it's what it's led to is then being able to make certain decisions that, had you asked us 5 years ago, would have said it's impossible. There would have been no way
we could have done this.
We could have done something like this, right?
Well, I think what's quite powerful is I remember sharing this with one of my friends, and this was way before they bought their house and just before they'd had their baby. So she was saying that they actually started to apply this whole let's live on one income, and she was like, yes, it was tough going from 2 to 1, because you have to have the sort of mindset of being disciplined. You have to see like the bigger picture and the end goal. So they actually started doing that. And I remember by the time they had their baby, it felt like nothing. Like, it felt like, yes, fair enough that other money's not coming in, but because the bills are taken care of and everything's fine, it's okay. Exactly. And she was saying that even after they moved into their home and stuff like that, the fact that they'd adopted this sort of mindset early on really helped them. So she was also speaking on the whole freedom part, like that whole piece that you have and the freedom that you have, like you can't put a price on it. But she was also saying that, okay, they saw the difference with the way their marriage was as well, because now they had a lot of peace about money. They had a lot of peace in their marriage as well. So it does work. It does happen. There are couples that do it.
Is it too good to be true? It depends on, I guess, your perspective. When we first came across this concept, I'll be honest, that we thought the same thing. We were like, there's no way people are living on one income. Like, what kind of like, that doesn't make sense.
Or they must be rich. The second one must not really matter.
Exactly.
Because they're like rich.
They're earning so much money.
Like it's they're swimming in pounds, so it's fine.
It's fine, but actually, the reality is, it genuinely takes a lot of dedication and a lot of work. And also the truth of the matter is, you won't necessarily kind of switch, overnight. Yeah. It takes time. So, when we were saying we've been doing this for a while, I can't remember at what point it really switched. Yeah. Because when you're starting off, you kind of say, okay, let's go from living on 2 incomes to living on 1 income and a half. Yeah. And then you go 1 income and a quarter, and then eventually you go to 1 income. But like, that journey does take time, and it takes a lot of dedication and a lot of work to kind of build a lifestyle that accommodates for that.
Another thing you then can do to accommodate that lifestyle is to also increase your income. So that's another way to cover yourselves, because you may be looking at it like, okay, but we earn just enough to live on right now.
For 2 incomes.
Yeah, for 2 incomes. But another way you can then do is, one of you can then be like, okay, let me upskill myself, or let me start earning more, let me do a side hustle, let me do something that then brings in more money on this side. That way, on the other side, we will start reducing how much we're spending on this side, and eventually, before you know it, you might be earning enough to then just cover everything. So you can then use this other money for other things, like you said, going on holidays or investing, saving, doing whatever you want to do. But I believe it's possible for someone who wants to make it happen.
And if you want to make it happen,
you'll make it happen. Yeah, I feel like in this life you can do anything that you want to do. But I think sometimes what people don't think about is how hard it may be to get to your end goal, or how much effort or how much discipline or how much work you have to put in. Yeah. But I truly believe that if you want to make something work, you can make it work. But don't deceive yourself in thinking that it will be so easy and I won't have to sacrifice anything. You may have to sacrifice a lot to get to your end goal, but the question to you is it worth that much to you to make it happen? Are you willing to sacrifice what you need to sacrifice in order to get where you need to get?
And, we are not talking here about like cutting off your non-essential expenses. That's not what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Like, you can keep the non-essentials if you really want them. Like, that's fine. In fact, we've got some. So we're not going to be hypocrites here and sit here and tell you anything different. No. I think what we are talking about is almost an intention to say, if we're going to be paying for, I don't know, £100 to a gym membership, for example, then we want to do that. Then, okay, fine. But then the question is, are you going to make enough money to cover for all that bills on one income?
Yeah.
And if the answer is no, then yeah, start to look at your income. I think I definitely had to kind of what's the word? I had to change my mindset when it comes to income and kind of think, you know what, so far my income has kind of been bound by my employer. If my employer told me that they will only pay me like 40,000 salary, then that's what I took as gospel.
Cool. Yeah.
Great, that's what I'm getting paid. But the reality is, you know, in this day and age, you can get a higher paid job from another company or even another industry, but it's the same job.
Yeah.
It just so happens that that company or that other industry pays more for that skill set. And so that's what I would encourage you to do, to start to kind of think beyond just the way your employer pays you, because that's just how that one company pays you. Start to think above that.
And I think what also helped us was surrounding ourselves with people that thought like that.
Yeah.
Because when you are surrounding yourselves with people that think, okay, this what I'm being told by my employer is it's the be all and end all, and that's fine. I think you also think like that.
Yes.
But the minute we started to surround ourselves and move in circles where people are like, listen, there's money to be made in this world. There's money out there. These people have money. Mm-hmm. We then were like, wow, like I feel like sometimes we're dumbfounded and we're like, whoa, hold on a minute. That's when we started being like, okay, we can actually do this, but it also means maybe shifting positions, changing the job here and there, and just doing better.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what that effectively we're talking about here is it too good to be true? I think it can feel that way, and I can understand why you would feel that way. But if you are wanting to take this seriously, then it is possible. Is probably the way I'd say it. It is possible. Now, it may take some of you. You might already like be immediately there. For some of you, you probably earn good salaries in your marriage, and all you need to do is just be very intentional about your expenses. Whereas for others, you're on the opposite scale. You're very intentional about your expenses because you don't have much money already, and therefore your plan might be, okay, let's increase our income. Let's find a way to make more money. And some of you might be somewhere in the middle. And I think you just need to identify where you are, and then figure out, what do I need to do next to take myself or to take us closer to that goal. And you might be on this journey for years before you get to a point where you say, we are living on one income. But that's the beauty of this goal. I think it's, again, as we said, it encourages to work together as a team. It encourages you to take your finances very intentionally, and it encourages you to kind of start to think about, how do we build wealth? Because the other question is, what do you do with the other income, right? With the other income, well, the reason why this goal becomes worthwhile is because it allows you to then actually prioritize your financial goals. And you might even say, let's put money aside to save up a year's worth of childcare costs, or a year's worth of all of our bills. That way we know that for the next 12 months even, our bills are covered, are sorted. That's what that income would do. You've got emergency funds to save for, you've got car bills to save for, you've got holidays to save for, you've got a lot of things that need money right now that you could use that other income for. The other thing you could do is start investing for your future. Put money into stocks and shares, save that money to buy yourself a buy-to-let property, or whatever other investments are on your plate. You could start to use that income to start to build your wealth in the background with buying assets. Or
you could also pay off any debt that you have. Like for some people, debt is literally killing you on a mental level. Like mentally, it's too much for you. You're thinking about it, it's depressing you, it's a lot for you. And this could be your opportunity to be like, do you know what? That's fine. We're going to use this other money that we now have to literally do debt freedom for ourselves, or to even make sure that, okay, we're paying off all these things that we've gotten ourselves into, or let's pay off our mortgage. I know it's like, this is a big thing for a lot of couples now, like making sure you pay off your mortgage, or you pay down your mortgage, whatever debt you have, you can use the money towards that.
And for some of you, you might actually then say, for us, it's not really about finances. We're doing this to change our lifestyle. So you might say, we live on one income so that the other person can be a stay-at-home parent. Or so that the other person can work part-time, or work in a different, less paying career profession, but one that they really want to get into.
Or it could be one where you're like, okay, one of us is now able to take the time to focus on something, or a passion that they have, or build a business that they have that will benefit us in the long run. But you're able to then be like, okay, step away from your day-to-day job to focus on that, because we were able to live on that one income. We've learned how to live on the one income.
So if you're listening to us now, you're thinking, okay, it sounds possible and I want to go for it and I want to try it. What are the steps of doing it? 2 things to do would be useful. Number 1, decrease your expenses. Number 2, increase your income. But when you increase your income, you're simply doing that to fund more of the goals than your expenses. You keep the expenses exactly where they are. And if any couple was to ask us whether they should do this, I would say this is honestly one of the best goals you can have. This will only work if you have an our money mindset.
Yeah, it will.
You can't really do this if you are like, my money, your money.
Yeah.
Even if you tried, it would be too confusing and convoluted. I think what we're talking about fundamentally would require you to shift your thinking to it is our money, because we see all income as one pot. And it's all we're really saying is this source of income, which happens to be yours in this example, is paying the bills, and my source of income is funding our lifestyle. Because when we talk about investing the money, for example, we're investing it in both our investments, not just mine,
one,
right? And when we put money in the savings account, it's also our savings. And when we're paying off debt, we're seeing that as our debt. So I think that's probably a prerequisite for this to work. You kind of have to have this our money mindset. If you're able to do it any other way, like if you keep money separately, then that's great. But for this to really, really work, you need to have an our money mindset.
So let us know in the comments below if this is something you're already doing. Let us know your thoughts about it in the comments. But to start you off, we've got a free couples money guide that you can download. The link is in the description, and hopefully it sets you off on this journey of working together as a team with your money.